Welcome to Bitcoin Center Radio, recorded live from downtown Miami's expanding business district.
Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Bitcoin Center Miami Radio. Today is a very special day. We are joined by none other than Lyn Ulbricht. Lyn Ulbricht is an absolute legend in the Bitcoin community. She's a political activist, a well-known advocate for constitutional protections, individual freedom, and privacy. She is also the mother of Ross Ulbricht, the creator of the Silk Road, who is currently serving a double life sentence plus 40 years without parole for completely nonviolent charges. Lyn has appeared on CNN, HuffPost Live, Fox, and has been interviewed by the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, and The Guardian. Lyn is an absolute legend within the Bitcoin community, Ross as well. Lyn, we just want to first of all say thank you so much for taking your time out of your day to speak with us. We really appreciate that.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
No problem. How are you holding up right now in the midst of the corona apocalypse per se?
I'm fine. I'm in Tucson, which is a pretty laid back place, and I have a lot of space around me, not in the middle of crowds. And my daughter's with me, which is a blessing. And I'm just a lot of the time I'm home on the computer anyway, so I'm okay.
Nice.
How about you?
Holding up, surviving down here in Miami. They just formally announced the shelter in place. But, Florida people don't really care. Florida man does what Florida man wants to do, and people are still out on the streets running around. I mean, they finally shut down the beaches and the boat ramps, so that's helped a bit. But people are still unconcerned and not really taking things seriously, which is a little bit of a concern. But hopefully they'll have an awakening and stay home. But yeah, if you guys are unfamiliar with Silk Road and who Lyn is and who Ross is, if you're not a Bitcoin OG, this was a little before, the 2017 bubble, but essentially Silk Road was an e-commerce platform similar to eBay, where consenting users could choose what to buy and sell as long as no third party was harmed. Both legal and illegal items were sold. Most commonly, it was just personal, very small amounts of cannabis. The problem with Ross's case was that every single step of the case, from the investigation to the trial to the sentencing, was just rampant with corruption and evidence tampering. And, unfortunately, the sentence that Ross received made absolutely no sense. He was sentenced to a double life sentence plus 40 years when, even other people who were involved in the site didn't even get sentenced to 10 years, if not half of that. So our, main focus, our main goal here is to garner support and awareness of Ross's cause, of Ross's situation, and, to really get the attention to President Trump, to get a pardon from him. So we're really blessed to be joined by Lyn today. Lyn, first question for you. We're no stranger to this. The criminal justice system in our country, it's essentially broken. So when it comes to prison reform, where's a good starting point? Where can we start to improve this broken system that we have?
Well, I think we should stop caging nonviolent people. And first of all, we should stop the drug war. It's completely failed. It has not stopped anyone from using drugs. They can't even keep drugs out of the prison, but it has served to it's basically fueling mass incarceration, because over 60% of prisoners are nonviolent drug offenders and some immigration offenders. It is filling our prisons, making us the largest incarcerator in the world, and it's not solving anything. So stopping the drug war right there would be an enormous great. It would be a real progress. It would stop violence. It would stop the cartels. It would not destroy the families and the people that it's destroying. So that would be something that I think would really help. And then just in general, I personally, after what I've observed and experienced, I don't see why we should cage nonviolent people. We have the technology to keep track of them. We have the technology so that they are in home arrest or whatever, where they can be with their families, because the devastation to families and children from incarceration is really horrible. And they could be doing restitution. They could be doing community service. They could be giving back and instead of just sitting there in warehouse. So I think basically we should be putting in prison when necessary people who we're afraid of, who are a danger, who actually are a danger to people, and not people that we disapprove of their actions or think they should be punished for what they did, but it didn't hurt anyone. I mean, in terms of they're not violent. It's not a physical violence that they, that I don't have to be afraid. It's kind of like, I can use Ross as an example because he's like a blatant example. Mm-hmm. You would not need to be afraid of Ross if you were in an elevator with Ross. In fact, he would probably hold the door for you and ask what floor you need and push the button. It's like, now I might be afraid if I were in there with a crazy killer. It's not necessary. And I think that would be a huge step.
Absolutely. And yeah, Ross, Eagle Scout, scientist, entrepreneur, like good guy, not a violent criminal, not someone who deserves a double life sentence. And I, completely agree with you. It's completely out of hand. It's a drain on the taxpayer. It's a burden to society, really. I mean, my math might be a little off from the last time I heard this stat, but I think we're, roughly 5% of the world's population here in America, but it's like 20% of the world's inmates. It makes...
Correct. I think it was 25, actually.
It actually might be higher. It might be 25%. Yeah. And, when you actually take a look at the prison system here, it's basically a for-profit prison system. And it's disgusting how at like the fundamental levels, the system is set up, not really for justice, but for maximizing profits, for keeping people in jail basically as long as physically possible. So I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, actually, when you look at it, inmates are the inventory. And if you're making money off human beings, then it's human trafficking. That's what it is. Right. It's using human beings to make money against their will, basically. And it's a huge jobs program. It's enormously expensive to the taxpayers. It's making money for people at all levels. And it's not just the private prisons, but in the public prisons too. And they're completely entwined. And it's a ripoff of the taxpayer big time. So, and it doesn't work. That's the thing. There would be an argument if it actually worked, but it doesn't work.
Exactly. And, you have judges getting kickbacks for sentencing people to go to certain jails, and judges have been caught doing this all across the country. So I think we need really a ground up kind of revision and do-over of the justice system. I know all the news about the coronavirus outbreak, it seems to be negative, but I think if there's one positive thing to take away, it kind of is shedding some light and attention on the prison system, because I know some prisons are taking steps to curb outbreaks and some places actually are releasing prisoners. I was going to ask you, what steps, are being taken to prevent a virus outbreak in prison, and what steps are being taken to kind of help, flatten the curve?
Well, I mean, and I am concerned for Ross, because being in a prison is it's like a petri dish. It's everybody's on top of each other, and things do spread in the prison easily. And they're taking steps at the state levels and the county levels to release people. And now there's pressure to have some of the federal prisons release people. They're mainly focusing on older and unhealthy, people with health conditions, which of course should be out anyway, again, on the same theory that they're not a danger, as long as they're not a danger. So that's good. Maybe it'll sort of spill over into realizing that we have way too many people in cages in this country. And, as far as Ross's, I just told him, order a lot of vitamin C from the commissary, drink a lot of water, try to stay at distance from people who, if you can, you can't really do it. And so far he's healthy. And he said there are some sick people, but there's always some people with something, flu or whatever. And he said, but they're not, as far as he knows, testing them or anything. So frankly, the medical care in prisons is not particularly great. So in general, it is a concern, but from my perspective, Ross is relatively young and healthy. And this is not usually ever, I guess occasionally, but mostly not fatal or anything to people who are unless they're older or sick. So hopefully he'll be okay. And but I'm glad to see that they're talking about getting some people out in this emergency, because it shows they didn't need to be in there in the first place to protect society.
Exactly. It's good that it's getting the conversation started and getting people to really think, why are all these people locked up for doing nonviolent things, forcing them in this terrible situation, especially when on top of it, now you have a global health crisis. So as long as, we're getting awareness out there and getting that conversation started, maybe, we can take something, positive away from this whole corona apocalypse thing, which will be good.
Yeah, I hope so.
Absolutely. And it's an election year as well. All eyes are on 2020. What can we really do during an election year to best raise awareness for Ross's situation?
Well, as you know, we were organizing things along the election, like Free Ross supporters were going to Trump rallies to get the message to the president. Well, that's not happening. So it's difficult to know what to do. I mean, it's a lot. It's hard to be heard through all the noise, right? I think it's pretty much the only thing people are looking at right now. But in general, we have our petition and we want it to keep growing. A lot of people are stuck home. Might as well get online and sign our petition and share it.
Exactly.
There's on our Take Action page, there's a way to send the administration a message about Ross, and it explains how, just through your internet, and just spreading the word. And if anyone knows anyone in government or politics or has any political connections at all, please contact me, because that is I think that's the way things happen, is through connections and people, saying, look, this case, please just familiarize yourself with this outrageous case and the sentence. I mean, most people don't really know the real story. And once they do, and even before they do, they go, wait a minute, a nonviolent first-time offender got double life plus 40 years, and he's not accused of laying a hand on anyone. Right. They can't believe it. And that's all you really need to know. And this is a very dangerous thing, because these kind of sentences, this kind of government abuse of power, is alarming. They can do this to anybody they want. And now, of course, with Ross's case, there's a precedent for doing it. And that's what courts rely on. Oh, well, they gave that guy that much, so, well, this is appropriate. And these are draconian sentences. And Ross isn't unique. He's not the only one. I mean, he had a friend, the last prison he was in, nonviolent guy, peaceful guy. He's doing life for marijuana in Colorado, where it's legal on the state level, but it's federal case. He's doing life for marijuana. Life. And life sentences have quintupled in the past, well, since the 80s and the drug war. So they've just shot up. And so there's 5 times as many life sentences. And they're, when I was growing up, hardly anybody got life. It was just almost unheard of, unless they were a mass murdering maniac, Right. So now they give out life sentences for pot. I mean, come on. This is wrong.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and really evil when you look at the repercussions and the suffering that this causes. And it's so ironic now, because, of course, pot is, legal in so many places. And the most commonly exchanged drug on Silk Road was marijuana, use or amounts of marijuana. And I was recently in California, and I'm looking at billboards going, we'll deliver marijuana to your door, just call us. And I'm like, wow, times have really, changed. This is what Ross is, one of the things he's in prison for, Silk Road. And the whole thing about Bitcoin, which I really think was the reason behind it all, personally. Bitcoin was considered kind of a dark, strange thing, almost 7 years ago, and all of that. And now the government's going to come out with their own digital currency.
Yeah.
So times have changed, but this sentence doesn't change. It's it's his life, and it's really a death sentence. It's a walking death sentence, and this is way what it just needs to be corrected. It just absolutely does. It's wrong. So
100%, 110%. Like you said,
mm,
it doesn't take a PhD in law. It doesn't take a law degree
no,
to look at Ross's case. And even from a passerby observation, the sentencing does not align with the crimes
not at all.
at all. The sentencing is erroneous. I think the best way to put it, it's a miscarriage of justice, really.
It is. It absolutely is.
Like you said,
And
it's yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's actually a violation of our Constitution because the Eighth Amendment prohibits cruel and unusual punishment. And of course, it's cruel, but it's very unusual too. First-time offenders, nonviolent people don't get that kind of sentence.
Right.
So it's a total violation of the Constitution as well.
It's erroneous. And like you said, it sets a bad precedent, especially, as the digital age evolves. And now courts can look at this and, say, oh, well, this is the legal precedent. We're going to, follow down this path. So like you said, it has to be corrected. Absolutely has to be corrected. So the best way that you guys can take action is go to freeross.org/petition. It's a change.org petition. They're now over 275,000 signatures, guys. So let's really push this. 300,000 is right around the corner. Ross's birthday is actually Friday, March 27th. So I think that'd be a great gift to him if we could get this to 300,000. And then that would be an awesome gift. Yeah. And you can also go to freeross.org/action as well. And like Lynn was saying, you can actually directly submit a comment to President Trump's approval poll and let him know and, bring awareness to Ross's case and Ross's cause and his situation. So yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to say about Ross's birthday, this is his 7th birthday in prison. He's turning 36. He's in prison for something he did on a computer when he was 26 years old. He's 36 now. He's more mature. If you're going to look at it like, from the, court's point of view, people change. People, if you're worried about some reckless kid, well, he's not a kid. He's 36 and his life is ticking away.
Right.
And he doesn't need to be in prison for any reason. And it's sad because this is the first birthday in prison that was a visiting day. And so we could have gone and seen him, and now they can't because there's no visits because of the virus. So, but he's holding up okay. When I talk to him, Ross is very strong. He's very stays strong. So he's doing all right. But it's not easy.
Absolutely. Well, Ross, we're all here for you. We're all rooting for you. We are doing everything we can every day to raise awareness for this, wishing you a happy early birthday. Definitely thinking of you. And guys, we can push this. We're right at right around the corner from 300,000. So absolutely we can do this, and we're going to blast this out.
Great.
Yeah, no problem. Happy.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to say we're at 300,000. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people.
That's a huge amount of people.
Please pay attention to this. Yes.
That's a small city, really. I mean, I think Wyoming, the population of Wyoming is only like 500,000 people, guys. This is almost an entire state.
Oh, wow. That's cool. Yeah, and that's the kind of thing, even though people say to me, well, there's no guarantee. And I'm like, of course there's no guarantee. It's not like you reach a magic number and it's all done.
Right.
It is an excellent PR tool. I have told different legislators and people like that, and they're impressed because that represents, a movement, basically.
It is a movement.
Mm-hmm. So it's just a documentation of a movement. That's what it is.
Yeah, and if we can continue to build on that and to snowball it even further, 300K, 500K, next thing it'll be 1 million people. You can't ignore 1 million people. You absolutely can't ignore 1 million people. So we're on the path to that.
Yeah, thank you so much for your support with that.
Oh, yeah.
And everything.
No problem. Ross will always have our support. I know some of our listeners are a little new in the Bitcoin space. A lot of people got in 2017, the great run to 20,000. But if you were involved in Bitcoin at an earlier time in 2011 or 2013, these were like the early days of Bitcoin. It was not easy to buy Bitcoin. It was not easy to sell Bitcoin. There was virtually one website that handled not all, but the overwhelming majority of the volume was all on Mt. Gox. And Silk Road was really one of the first places that you could actually spend and use and transact in Bitcoin. It was
the first proof of use of Bitcoin. It showed that it could be used as money and really put it on the map because most people had never heard of Bitcoin before.
Right.
And actually, Ross has been called the second most important person in Bitcoin history after Satoshi because it wouldn't be what it is if it weren't for his vision, really. And that's why we've had such, I think, support from the blockchain and Bitcoin communities, the crypto communities. And, I hope we continue to. A lot of people have became very wealthy from Ross's vision, and I hope that they'll continue to help us out because this is a long haul and very expensive one.
Right. And people can donate, correct? On freeross.org, there is a donate button in the upper right-hand corner, freeross.org/donate.
We take fiat, we take, donations for sure.
Oh, I'm loving this page here, guys. They accept Bitcoin, Dash, Litecoin, Ethereum, Monero. Shout out Johnny Dollar and the Monero there. Zcash, Zcoin. A lot of different coins on here, guys. So you don't have to be a Bitcoin maximalist to support. But Ross he'll always be a Bitcoin legend, and I couldn't agree more. He's pretty much the second most important person ever in the history of Bitcoin. He made it real for a lot of people and basically got the world's eyes on Bitcoin in a time where the attention just wasn't there at all. Now, do you keep up with Bitcoin at all, Lynn? Do you follow the day-to-day price fluctuations as we, see 50% of Bitcoin wiped in one day and then $1,000 pumps the next? Do you follow it day to day?
Yeah, yes, I don't follow it every single day, but I check in there several times a week. Yeah, I've been on a little roller coaster ride with it times, but it's volatile.
It's volatile. I mean, we've all been on that roller coaster, especially those of us that have been in the space, since 2013, since 2011.
We send Ross printed. He can't get on the computer. He can't get on the internet, but we print out charts for him so he can kind of keep up with it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love reading Ross's price updates and Medium posts. I'm going to pull up the Medium page right now just so I can give it to our viewers so they can check in on Ross's writings as well. It's just medium.com/@Ross Ulbricht.
So I just throw in Ross, just Ulbricht, will come up. It's easy to find, and there's a lot of good stuff, and you'll get a sense of Ross. He has he has a whole series on Bitcoin, but he also has one called The 5 Keys to Inner Strength I Learned in 5 Years in Prison. So it's not just about Bitcoin, it's about other things. He's really quite a deep thinker, and he's an inspiration. I mean, he's inspired me. He keeps me going. So he's learned a lot. So there's some good stuff in there.
There's a lot of really good content in here. I see, actually, I got to check this one out. He has a whole piece on consciousness and cosmology that was just posted at the end of January. So definitely got to check that out. But, thank you, Ross, for, being an inspiration to us all, keeping us all going, and your strength, your will. It's a testament to us all. So we thank you for that. I guess, Lynn, on a closing note, do you have any message for people in times like these when it seems like the world is just falling apart at the seams?
Well, hopefully it won't fall apart at the seams. Frankly, I understand the urgency and concern over this virus. I'm also very concerned about the government. I don't like the government telling me what to do. So I think, but just the potential shredding of our freedoms through this. I believe it happened after 9/11 as well. It seems like every time there's kind of major crisis, we lose more of our freedoms. And so I am concerned about that. And of course, we don't want this thing to spread, and you have to be sensible. I understand that.
Right.
But that, our freedoms is another concern of mine, frankly. So I would just say have faith and take it one day at a time, and be aware of what's going on as best you can. I don't know. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to get outside. Well, I'm in kind of an isolated place, so it's easy for me to get outside. But just look at the benefits. You were talking about some positives, and there's positives in this kind of thing too. So I would look at those as much as possible. Otherwise, we're all going to be devastated and weak. We need to stay strong.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there are some, positives to take away now that everyone's at home, really value the time we have, with our family, with our friends. It's so easy to get caught up in our day-to-day routines that we just let the days slip away. So just take the time to slow down and, like you said, Lynn, just take it day by day and breathe. I think that's really the best thing that we could do here.
Yeah. Build up your immune system, zinc, C, vitamin D. These are the things that, just basic stuff I've been reading that really helps. So get strong. Absolutely.
And that's basic stuff, not only just for defeating the virus, but it should just be everyday health stuff that we overlook and don't even think about.
Right. Exactly. Our immune systems are very important.
Absolutely. Well, very wise words there from an absolute legend. Lynn, thank you so much for joining us today. Guys, you're stuck at home. You got nothing else to do. freeross.org/petition. Sign the petition. Let's get this to 300K for Ross's birthday on Friday, just 2 days from now. Lynn, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. We really, really appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
No problem. Stay safe out there, Lynn.
Okay, you too.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Strategically located in downtown Miami's emerging business district, the Blockchain Center is the premier hub of the Americas for teaching, networking, and building the distributed future. Our mission is to manifest the mass adoption of blockchain technology and onboard the next 6 billion people to the global monetary revolution.